I recommend you just use these points from high CPI. Okay, these 3 points, H, C, and I. So high CPI is from my acronym here. So yeah, let me just show you today's notes, DDT, high CPI is here. So I'm saying use the first one, the third one, and the last one. How to elaborate is all here, okay? What do you say for E1? Not always bad, but low and stable inflation can be good for an economy. Okay, so remember this one, DDEE. Okay, including diagram. Okay, yeah, maybe if you don't draw a diagram because time is tight, it's also okay lah. Low and stable inflation can be good because it indicates economic growth and attracts investments. Low and stable. Okay. R2, deflation is damaging. So you can use this point, you can use this point, you can use this point. So basically, I'm using the same points as recession. Okay. Deflation due to fall in SRAS is good for an economy. Okay, so if you don't understand these points, you have to let me know, okay? Because I was asking whether you are okay with deflation. Okay, if you're okay with deflation, you understand these points. But if you don't understand, please sound up. Questions? Anyone? No questions? If this helps you, maybe I'll just put this here. Okay. When you look at deflation, okay, a side note on deflation. Deflation means a fall in general price level. Yeah. First of all, in GPL, deflation, we split into bad deflation, which is this one. This is bad deflation. This is synonymous with a recession. That's why I use BIBS, which is from recession. The good deflation is a fall in price due to lower COP. Follow? So that's why I use this as my antithesis. And I can say, hey, this is good for an economy because it improves real purchasing power of income. Okay, it helps to improve export price competitiveness, but you can keep the points short. No need for diagrams. Okay. Yes.
AD that falls, but if it's on the vertical portion, but it falls
the sweet spot.
Yeah, it falls from a very high point on the vertical portion to a lower point on the vertical portion.
That's a theoretically possible outcome, but for the purpose of essays, we tend to paint it in quite binary terms. Bad, good, because there's something that's clearly good, so I'd rather hinge to this point. Okay? Yes. But that point you're talking about could be disinflation. Inflation creeping up at slower rate. Okay. More questions? Then I move on to my summative. conclusion. Okay. Summative conclusion, I want to say it depends. Which one is more damaging depends on the number of things. Depends on root cause of the problem. Like inflation due to cost push factors is worse than demand pull factors. Who is not okay with this point? Even inflation, there's a bad and there's a worse inflation. You okay? Cost push, what happens? You have both, you have a rise in the price and a fall in your output. Both macro goals are affected. Demand pull, at least your GDP is high. I'm not saying demand pull is good, both are bad, but one is worse. Okay? Next one. Deflation, okay, due to lower COP is benign, while due to is bad. This is the root cause. Okay? So it depends on the root cause. It also depends on whether expectations of inflation or deflation set in. Okay? This is a new point, so I'll explain slowly. Right? So whether expectations set in. Example, this is called an inflationary spiral. Inflationary spiral means when consumers expect inflation or when they expect GPL to rise, would you buy more or less today? You'll buy more today. Yes? So when you expect prices to rise, you will buy more today, hence C rises. It worsens demand pull inflation. Yes? Who else reacts when they expect inflation? Banks. Banks may charge higher interest, possible. Okay, but there's one more group, workers, employees. You see, workers negotiate higher wages to maintain real purchasing power. What would that do to inflation? When workers ask for higher wages, worsens wage push, cost push inflation through higher wages. Can you see how it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? What is this? It's a spiral. So we call this an inflationary spiral. The moment people expect inflation, it becomes a monster. It takes on a life of its own. It's very, very hard to curb.
If it's so hard to counteract
Yes.
inflation,
Yes.
you are attempting to counteract inflation when you expect inflation.
Yes.
Why you just close your eyes?
Don't.
Yeah, if you find out that inflation just
Yes.
just look at you.
The collective behavior, herd instinct of your workers and your consumers is they will not react. They will react to it. But now the ball is in the court of the central bank, the authorities, how to stop expectations from setting in. And this is one big thing you will learn in university if you do econs, central bank credibility. A credible central bank like in MAS, with a very good record of keeping inflation low, we don't really expect inflation. If MAS says we will keep inflation below 3%, they generally do it. Okay? So central bank credibility is very, very important. All right? Yes.
Cost push inflation is worse than demand pull inflation because there's no increase in
GDP.
right?
Yes. Yeah. 2 of your 4 indicators are not doing well. Okay. Now, you also have a deflationary spiral. Spiral means worsens the existing problem, worsens the existing problem. Okay. So deflationary spiral, when you expect GPL to fall, would you buy you want to buy a new TV? Would you buy it this year or next year? Next year. You will postpone consumption. Hence, AD falls, but come next year, you'll postpone again, right? This perpetuates the fall in GPL. This is a deflationary spiral. Sometimes they never break out of it. Japan was caught in deflation for 2 decades. They were in that spiral for 2 decades. That's why China leapfrogged Japan to become the world's second largest economy. It was previously Japan. Okay, so this spiral is bad. Follow? Third one? Last one? It depends on the nature of economy. Nature of the economy. I'm just gonna say demand export-driven economies are harder hit by inflation. Who can tell me why? Export-driven economies are harder hit. What are the consequences of inflation again? High CPI, right? And the H stands for this. Okay? So they are harder hit because the fall in export price competitiveness, hence X lowers AD to a larger extent. To a larger extent. Okay? So these are some points to get you that last 2-3 marks for evaluation.